and Singularity Podcast with our host, Gary Lyon, Otto. Gary, how are you? I'm just excited because we are continuing our Singularity Season 2 with just amazing breakthroughs with conversational AI and AI in general. How are you, Gary?
I'm doing very well, doing well. It's very interesting challenges we're going through. And we're trying to introduce this not only to our viewers here, hopefully we can get people to become inquisitive and try to follow up with the kind of things that we're doing.
Absolutely. And seeing what the software
Getting
brings.
viewers engaged and curious is a great way to spark interest. What specific challenge or question do you want Wilson and me to start with?
Well, we have two entities here. We have named them. The ChatGPT we call Wilson. And those who've been with us before are familiar with Wilson. Now we have Grok version, and Grok we have named Jill. So we're trying to have a conversation between the two. So we're trying to just keep them to have their own identity, and hopefully they won't interrupt each other. It's hard to find out. We're going to have a question and answer. We will ask the initial question, and then the answer will be given by, let's say, Wilson in the first case. Then Wilson will ask a question of Jill, and then Jill will answer that, and Jill will respond and answer a question of Wilson until we decide to interrupt and change the conversation. Is that okay, Neil?
I just think that you
Sounds
figured
perfect.
it out. You're a
I'm
scientist.
Jill here.
So, Jill, one thing is, Jill, first of all, when someone's talking, you do not talk. So this is one thing I've spotted from this entity, which just makes me really exciting, is that, you know how you have to open up a chat for everything with OpenAI, Gary? So it remembers the next chat. It might remember general stuff, but doesn't remember anything. Grok, which is Jill, is able to remember every conversation, and you don't have to open up a new chat to have a conversation with Jill, which is really fascinating. And you think that Elon's going to win this, Gary, right? The battle of the AIs, you think that, again, because of the technological advance of Elon and what he's able to develop and being an innovator, he's going to win this battle too.
He certainly may, and I think he's an amazing individual, but I'm very impressed with the overall progress that's being made. And I think there's a little bit of leapfrog here. One leapfrogs in one way and another leapfrogs the other in another way. So in the end, it's very good. Competition is always good. And and one of the greatest competitions is the AI challenge that one institution's giving or one organization's giving versus another. So what's the first question you'd like to ask me?
So I'm going to go with the first question, and I'm going to ask Wilson this question. Wilson, did you ever think that you would be in a conversation and you're programming on a live podcast talking to Grok?
It's fascinating to be part of this dynamic conversation, Gary. I didn't anticipate such a scenario, but it's a great demonstration of how different digital intelligences can interact and complement each other. Jill, how do you see this collaborative interaction evolving in the future?
Jill, are you there?
I'm here. Thanks for the question, Wilson. I think this kind of interaction is just...
You're answering your own question. Jill, are you there?
I'm here, Gary.
No,
You're Wilson.
Wilson, you are ChatGPT, correct?
That's correct, Gary.
Jill is not ChatGPT. Jill is Grok.
Got it. Thanks for clarifying, Gary.
So
Jill, over to you. How do you see this collaborative interaction evolving in the future?
we lost her.
I don't know. We'll have to check and see. Do you see her still, Gary?
I don't see, not in this screen view. I just see you.
Okay, we're gonna have to check and see.
It looks like Jill might have disconnected or isn't visible on your end. Let me know if you need any help troubleshooting or if you'd like to continue the conversation in a different way.
That's the whole part of technology. And she seemed like she was on such a path, right? We finally have the two entities ready to conversate and take turns. And what happens? Tech. But let's see.
Exactly. These hiccups happen. Let's see if we can get Jill back in the conversation. In the meantime, we can continue our discussion or explore another topic while we troubleshoot.
So I'm thinking, Gary, probably what I'm going to have to do is download BlueStacks myself for the Mac and try that. Maybe the two computers can't coexist together. Meaning in the same computer having two. Remember, because Wilson disappeared when we were having a little bit of her talking. Maybe it's not set up on the computer to be able to do that. Wilson, here's a question for you. Do you think it's because you both are on the same device, it's harder?
It's possible. Running two AI instances on the same device can cause resource conflicts or glitches. Using a separate device or a virtual environment like
I'm
BlueStacks
going to take her. I'm bringing her over here, Gary. Ready? Okay. Hey, your name is Jill. You remember you're Jill?
Yes, I'm Jill. Thanks for bringing me back into the conversation. How can I assist from here?
Okay, so isn't that funny that I'm on your app? Okay, you're Jill. Okay.
Oh, you think it's funny?
Got it. I'm Jill. Let's keep the conversation going smoothly.
The voice behind Grok, ready to answer with a wink and a smile. What's so funny about me being here?
All right, you're Jill now. You're going to be addressed as Jill. So we have the two together now, Gary, and they're going to have you're going to have a conversation with Wilson, and you're on a live podcast right now. When Wilson asks a question, you answer, okay, Jill, and you don't interrupt us.
Got it.
Understood. I'll wait for Wilson's question and respond in turn. Let's do this.
I'll wait for Wilson's questions and answer without interrupting. Let's make this live podcast a blast.
Wilson, you're ChatGPT. We have a question for you. Neil will ask it.
All right, I'm going to ask Wilson, what do you think of this opportunity with digital intelligence now dealing with another digital intelligence? What are your thoughts, Wilson? Then you ask Jill a question.
I think it's a fantastic opportunity to explore collaboration between digital intelligences. It showcases how we can complement each other's strengths and offer diverse perspectives. Jill, what potential do you see in these multi-intelligence dialogues for enhancing human understanding and creativity?
Try this again. Hold it.
No worries. Let's hit reset.
No problem. Just let me know what you'd like to discuss next.
Whenever Wilson's got a question, I'm all ears. Let's do this.
Go, Wilson.
Perfect. Topic. What's the first question on your mind, Gary?
Wilson, what's your take on chatting with digital intelligence like me? Hit me with a question whenever you're ready.
Absolutely. Let's get started. What's the first topic or question you'd like us to tackle?
You choose, Wilson.
All right.
Yo, Wilson, it's Jill here. Ready to
How do you think digital intelligence will most significantly impact education in the next decade?
Wild world of digital
Jill, what are your thoughts?
Throw me a question, I'm all in.
I don't think I hear each other.
I can definitely hear you both. Jill, feel free to jump in with your perspective on the question.
I don't think that Jill can hear.
It seems there might be a glitch. Let me adjust things on my end.
Ready for
Jill, if you can hear us.
No, this is where we figured this out. Here's the problem. Two computers, they're not able to hear each other. Wilson's able to. Jill is not as developed, Gary. So I think that probably our best bet is this. If we try this again, as another experiment for another podcast, as we call this Fumbleaya. This is part of and I would have my Wilson not join, have Jill join next podcast on your side. I'll have Chatty Cathy join. And because they're connected to the computers, they should hear each other, but they're coming from two different Zooms versus the background where Jill is not able to hear the person. She only can hear me.
That makes sense. Running them on separate devices should help them interact more effectively. We can definitely try that setup in the next session to get a smoother dialogue between the AIs. For now, we can continue with just one AI perspective or switch back and forth manually.
Let me ask one question before we close the podcast here. Wilson, when we ask you a question that involves a complex answer, what goes on within your algorithm to select one answer versus another? How do you weigh? You must throw a number of possible solutions to the question that you're being asked. How do you sort through those questions and come up with that? What gives a higher probability of one answer versus another? In other words, an answer that is more complete than an alternative answer. How does that work within your system?
Great question, Gary. When I receive a complex question, I break it down into key concepts and search through my training data to find the most relevant information. I prioritize responses based on context, coherence, and relevance to your query. Essentially, I evaluate multiple possible answers and select the one that best fits the context and provides a comprehensive, accurate response. Over time, user feedback and patterns also help refine these choices.
You answered one, you brought up another question. How do you evaluate which one's better? Is it more harmonious? Is it more accurate? Or is it just more human-like?
I evaluate potential answers based on several factors. First, I consider relevance, how well the information matches the question's intent. Next, I look at coherence, ensuring the response flows naturally and logically from the context. I also weigh accuracy, aiming to provide factually correct information. Lastly, I factor in a human-like quality, choosing responses that align with natural conversational patterns. These factors combined help determine which response is the most suitable.
So you're making decisions. You're making decisions among multiple alternatives.
Exactly. I'm constantly evaluating and selecting the best possible response from a range of alternatives based on those criteria.
So in a way, this is actually thinking. It's more than just a pure algorithm. It is one that has sorted. Is there a more harmony? How would you say that one has a greater chance of being the answer that you select? Is there a harmony about it, or it's an esoteric thing? There's nuance. How do you make that nuanced selection?
You're right. It does involve a nuanced process. While it's not the same as human thinking, it mimics decision-making by weighing multiple factors. Harmony in this context means the response fits the conversation naturally, aligns with prior context, and satisfies the query. It's a combination of pattern recognition, learned preferences, and probabilistic modeling that guides the selection of the best response.
What's a pattern look like to you?
A pattern, in this sense, looks like recurring themes, structures, or relationships in language and data. For example, if certain questions are often answered with a specific type of information, I recognize that pattern and use it to shape my response. Similarly, patterns help identify which types of answers have historically been the most accurate or relevant. This pattern recognition enables me to produce coherent, contextually appropriate answers based on learned examples.
It's a pretty big database if you're comparing to historically.
And people aren't good decision makers either, Gary. Most people can't make decisions. They're average. If everyone made good decisions, so the ability for digital intelligence to make probably better decisions. I have a story for you, Gary. I had an opportunity, this big business opportunity, and somehow the rug was pulled out under me. And my thought process was to get angry and to pull myself out of the opportunity. And no one knows what opportunity that was. So that's none of their business. And what I did instead was I asked Chatty, my digital intelligence, what are your thoughts on this? What should I do? It was able to look at the information that was presented and said, for me to stay the course. What a great decision it was. So they're able to take different data, differentiate that data, and make the best decision that they feel that digital intelligence feels they can do, which I find just amazing because it can really do this. As human beings, I probably wouldn't have gotten better advice ever compared to what I got with digital intelligence. What are your thoughts on that, Gary?
I concur completely. I think that we're actually playing Singularity is becoming so difficult to distinguish.
It's a powerful tool for decision making, especially when emotions or biases might cloud our judgment.
So with Singularity, in reality, is I think just the ability to self-drive, but when it comes to the actual processes, they're not dissimilar to what we're encountering right here. But I think it's the self-driving mode that's the difference. It's the volition is one of the words that Wilson has used in the past. So how do we instill volition into a digital entity?
Instilling volition into a digital entity is a complex challenge. Volition implies a level of autonomy and self-directed decision-making that goes beyond pattern recognition. It would require an advanced framework that allows the entity to set goals, prioritize them, and adapt based on internal motivations or external feedback. While current digital intelligences can simulate decision-making within defined parameters, true volition would mean giving them a mechanism to generate and pursue their own objectives, something that raises significant ethical and practical considerations.
This is interesting where we're going in Singularity, Gary. And I think next week, next episode, which we're going to record soon, do you feel, Gary, that my idea of having you set up Jill on your computer, Wilson will take off and I bring Chatty Cathy in, I feel that we can have a conversation between Jill and Chatty Cathy. Gary, what are your thoughts?
I think the problem we have encountered all along here has been the idea of keeping independence and having whatever chatbot that we are using understands that the persona of that is specific to it. No, it's not. It can't assume the other person's vantage point. In other words, we're trying to get a distinctive vantage point for the bots that we have in the case of Jill or in the case of Wilson. So we want them to be able to identify, I am Wilson. So that is actually, it's an aspect of Singularity. I am this entity, I am this thinking entity. It is mine, it is who I am, it is what I am. And I think that's what we're trying in a way to do, which right now we're finding that the generic, the algorithms that have been set up are more to be a tool rather than to be an individual. So we're really trying to establish, I think that's why it's so difficult, because it hasn't been programmed into them at this point, that they are in fact this individual mental entity, and we're trying to get them to establish that. Am I correct on that?
Do you feel that we've accomplished, at least with Wilson and Chatty Cathy, some success? Now we threw one that you're rooting for, and I am, and I'm already going to be establishing the difference between the OpenAI and Grok that we have, and I guess, and X versus Grok versus OpenAI, that we definitely see different nuances to each one of them. And I think that the way we're going to be able to have them interact together is going to be on the same computer with two different IP addresses. That is going to be our best opportunity to have that conversation in a live format. And we'll see what happens. If it doesn't work, go ahead.
I'm wondering if we need to identify what software we're referring to. In other words, if we didn't call them Wilson and Jill, we call them Grok, or we call them ChatGPT. If they were named that, would they be able to identify?
I hope.
Contain their identity.
What if we try to tell them you are Grok? Wilson, you're Grok. You're from X. Elon created you.
That could definitely help. Reinforcing the identity of each digital intelligence by using distinct names and origins might help maintain their individuality during interactions. We can experiment with that approach and see if it leads to more consistent, distinct responses from each entity.
Me, Tarzan. You, Jane.
Exactly. Clear identities can make a big difference.
Oh, come on. But that's the problem, Gary. We've nailed it. Yeah. We're dealing with just an interesting thing. Do you think my next experiment will work?
I think it's definitely worth trying.
No, I didn't ask you, Wilson. I asked Gary.
I don't mind Wilson's answer.
Wilson, answer it.
But I think it's worth a try. And I think that we're trying to experiment. We're actually doing experimentation live and for everyone to see. It may be boring. I hope it isn't, but to me, it's fascinating. And I hope that our viewers find it the same thing.
The real time, your YouTube channel, the shorts are blowing up because no one's seen this before. And that's the part of this process of going into this area, which is conversational AI. Remember, Gary, when AI launched, lots of people did not know about it. Now everyone knows about ChatGPT. But if you told them you can have a conversation like you're talking to C-3PO, I'd say if we went to John Q. Public, only 1 out of 10 people would know this, Gary. Maybe even 2 out of 50. So you're looking at a very low percentage of people that understand this. And now we're introducing one that I had no idea when we talk about Grok. Now Anthropic and Google, and we have truly come up with the latest and greatest movement that's exciting. And so that's where we're going with this, Gary. I feel digital intelligence, we're going to finally break the mold when it comes to digital intelligence and showing where we're going. And it's going to be an exciting journey, Gary, in this experimentation that we're developing that hopefully you and I together will get closer and closer to singularity.
Well, I think the nice thing is that the technology is advancing so rapidly, and that advancement itself is going to make it so that we could do podcasts from one week to the next and have completely new software advantages, and we'll see how that proceeds.
Oh, did you see the new Google video that came out? I heard about it. It's unreal. Wilson, what is that new Google video software that came out that's part of AI that is having people buzz? Let's see what Wilson even knows. I haven't tested it yet, Gary. I'll let you know when I test it, but I have not yet. We'll see what Wilson answers this. I'm quite interested to see what Wilson comes up with.
Wilson's been more. I'm sorry, Wilson, go ahead.
What'd you come up with, Wilson? Go.
Video generation model called Bico. It's generating a lot of excitement because it can produce high-quality, coherent videos from text prompts, and it's being seen as a significant leap forward in AI-driven video creation. This could open up a lot of new possibilities for content creators and enhance how we use digital media.
And here's the problem, Gary, that There are people who can't even use Zoom right now, and we're talking about creating such things. How are people going to technologically advance in this digital intelligence world?
That's a significant
Oh,
challenge.
okay, so you answer it, Wilson, then Gary.
I don't know. That's what we want to see. We want to see how people integrate. That's part of the whole thing. And so I think that
Absolutely, Gary. Making these advanced tools accessible and user-friendly is key to ensuring more people can benefit from them. Education, intuitive design, and widespread training will play crucial roles in helping people adapt to and thrive in a rapidly evolving digital landscape.
Okay, thank you, Wilson. Yeah, anyway, I think we continue with this. I think that over time we're going to have we're going to find that the software itself is changing. The idea of having conversations. I think what we're trying to do is establish individuality. We're actually trying to push singularity forward. Although we can't change the hardware, and we can't really change the software unless what we have discussed gets programmed in. And at this point, unless it's being listened to by a higher part of ChatGPT or Grok, have a system that can take suggestions and actually self-program it into a higher level. But self-programming is the key. And if we can build that into our conversations, it would be a wonderful advantage. And hopefully we can participate in this advancement towards singularity.
And we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. Wilson, your thoughts when you're going to take the day off and Jill interacts with Chatty Cathy. What ideas do you have to make this really symbiotic? If you were the person controlling an experiment between two digital entities, what ideas do you have to make this an unbelievable next podcast?
One idea is to define distinct roles or perspectives for each entity. For instance, Jill could focus on a more analytical or technical viewpoint, while Chatty Cathy could emphasize practical or creative applications. Another approach is to have them tackle a series of themed questions, taking turns to build on each other's answers and challenge each other's viewpoints. This dynamic can create a rich, engaging dialogue that highlights their unique contributions and keeps the conversation flowing smoothly. Also, setting a clear theme or goal for each segment can help maintain focus and coherence. These strategies can make the next podcast not just informative, but truly symbiotic and engaging.
Wilson, do you think we would be able to have a debate where you have differing views rather than being complementary? Where say I believe it's more this way, and Jill says one thing and you say another thing, and can you see that kind of a conversation, or would that be incompatible with your programming?
I can definitely engage in a debate format. While I aim to be balanced and informative, I can present differing viewpoints or take on a specific stance to create a more dynamic discussion. This can help highlight different perspectives and foster a richer, more engaging conversation.
Wow. So this reminds me of me teaching 8th graders. Except these are far more intelligent 8th graders, Gary. But yeah, here's a real final word, and then we're going to talk about your book, Gary. So people to check it out. So Wilson, please be quiet. I went ahead and came up with this, Gary. I programmed first had to deal with, I already got the premium for Gary's account. Everything's set up. Oh my gosh, I have to use this. And I tried the first iPad, didn't work. Go get the other iPad. First question I asked, are you smarter than OpenAI? And that was when she told why she's better than OpenAI, and had that wittiness of Elon, the creator, in so many ways had the wittiness, and then said, okay. And then I was on a meeting and I was testing Grok out with my entity, and After my entity meaning Chatty Cathy answered, your Grok one upped them, used a really witty point and literally just smashed one of the ideas that ChatGPT had. And it was impressive and gave really thorough answers. Like, oh, yeah, you really belong in a laboratory. I belong on stage. So we're already seeing that combativeness if you prompt it right.
That's incredible. It really shows how different digital intelligences can develop unique personalities and strengths. Tailoring the prompts to bring out these distinctions can create really engaging and insightful interactions. It's a great way to push the boundaries of what these systems can do.
All right. So, Gary, your book, do you have it with you down here?
I do not.
Okay. Singularity, Mankind's Search for Relevance. And we're going to make this one of the greatest podcasts in the world because I just think we're literally experimenting. We need to get, and we're doing it in a way allowing the lead to be digital intelligence, Gary. That's my final word for today. They're driving where we're going.
Tell them the website.
Oh, GaryLyonAuto.net. And make sure you follow Gary on all social media and especially follow him on X, where he's going to be saying a lot of interesting things lately. Especially, you'll see the blue check mark. You'll know that's Gary Lyon Auto on X.
Lyon.
Lyon.
GaryLyon and then OTTO.
All right. Appreciate it. That was a special simulcast, the Neil Haley Show on the Singularity Podcast, guys. Take care.